Well, for some people, this movie is going to be very uncomfortable. Alright, hey guys. So back again with another movie. That is the one Sarah asked me to watch. That she's been asking me to watch this one for a while, so I finally got around to finally seeing it. This is Past Lives. This movie, I think it just won a few awards recently. That is very much about old school classmates in Korea, from Korea, who reconnect as adults, and there's kind of there's definitely a case where they kind of both have feelings for each other, but their opportunity to have a relationship is past, hence their past lives, and now they're kind of deciding what their relationship, platonic or otherwise, kind of looks like in this point in their lives. That's a very general overview, so to get more specific, I'm also reading out the synopsis here, makes my life easier. So the main character, like Na-yeon, is a girl. I apologize if I butcher these names, and Hao-sun are like were classmates and good friends when they were kids, when they both lived in Korea, but eventually Na-yeon immigrated to Canada and then New York, where she eventually got a engineering degree and kind of lived on, kept moving her life. The two of them eventually reconnected and started to kind of flirtatiously talk back and forth for a chat for a little while. However, eventually she decided to cut it off because she wanted to focus on her schooling and her life. She wanted to focus on building a life instead of kind of getting hung up on him and like sacrificing the life she was building to be with him. He does not take this very well, but that's not true. He takes it as well as can be expected, but he accepts it. And then years later, well, they still kind of keep in touch, kind of awkwardly, but he eventually decides to take a trip to New York. He claims to just be on vacation, but it's really to actually see her, and they both kind of know it. And the two meet up in person. They reconnect. At this point, she is married to it seems like a very nice man. And he kind of navigates this awkward tension. They both kind of navigate this awkward tension where there's still very clearly a romantic connection there, but the timing was never right, and it doesn't feel like it's ever going to actually happen. So the majority of the movie is kind of the navigation of that tension. And I will say right off the bat, I could have picked a better mental state to go see this in. Like, if you watched a few videos ago, I did mention I had a really bad mental health crisis about a month back, and I kind of watched this smack dab middle of it, so I feel like some of my enjoyment or not enjoyment of the film is a little tainted by that. That being said, I liked this movie. I thought it was a good movie. It wasn't my favorite. I didn't fall in love with this one. I did feel like while it was like the writing was good, the acting was good, the idea is good, and especially specifically in some ways that I really like that I'll talk about when I get into spoilers. I'm gonna try to avoid it right now. But I do think the core concept is interesting. It does feel like, okay, we've kind of seen this story before, but then they kind of call out the story tropes like halfway through the movie. It's like, okay, so we're not going that direction. That honestly makes me feel better. It makes the movie feel more grounded. But that being said, there is kind of a lot of the awkwardness kind of starts to grain on me specifically after a while. Neither one are particularly charismatic with the other. They both have chemistry, don't get me wrong, but neither one of them really have particular charisma. That isn't really a negative. It's more just like what grabs me as a viewer. But like that being said, the writing is interesting, the way they communicate is interesting, the way they both kind of eventually have an honest conversation about where they're at in their lives and what they, even if they wanted to pursue relationships, what that would actually mean. And it does feel like a very mature take on this kind of a story, which you don't get very often. So this is where I kind of have to go into spoilers. So just be wary of that. So I guess the main twist of the movie is that they don't get together. He acknowledges that her husband seems like a good man who is trying his best. He even tries to learn Korean, specifically communicate with his wife, and eventually and him by extension. And they do kind of it's one of those begrudging things where you like somebody but they were in love with somebody else, and even though you really want to hate that person, you just like, fuck you, you seem nice. And I get that. I really honestly get that. I've been there. It's a shitty place to be. But I do like that they don't go the direction where they make the husband into a villain, and like they don't try to villainize him in any way. They actually they do it. Make an effort to address his insecurity about it, obviously, because he can sense there's something going on. But they don't actively go that direction where it leads to an affair and it leads to them hooking up and being who she's really meant to be with. No, that doesn't happen, because that's just life, you know? They do have an honest discussion, like, well, maybe in a past life we did, but it's just not this one. And that's just how it is. They both kind of just take it like champs. She goes back to the life she's built. He goes back to a life where he's gonna have to find a way to move forward. Yeah, I've been there. It fucking sucks. But addressing it in that way does kind of convey a message that this is normal and this is okay. Too often it feels like media and film in particular really likes this narrative that, that stupid fucking Johnny Depp quote that I fucking hate. Where it says, like, if you've ever fallen in love with two people, choose the second one because you clearly never loved the first one enough. The first one, fuck off. Human emotions are much more complicated and nuanced than that, and there is complicated fields to dive through. This is one of them. I don't wish it on anybody because it fucking sucks, but I've had crushes on people that were dating other people, and it was horrible. It was awful. You eventually have to decide whether or not you really, like, do you care enough about that person to keep a friendship even though you have these feelings. And, like, yeah, it's a hard choice to make, and I do genuinely believe, like, I can't blame you either way. There are happen cases where, yeah, like, I've had crushes on people who were nameless, and like eventually got to the point where it's like, okay, this is clearly never gonna happen, so I'm choosing the friendship. And like, that's been hard, but worthwhile. But if you went the other direction, decided like, I can't be friends with you because I can't separate you from my feelings, that's also fair, you know? Never be friends with somebody just because you think they might fall in love with you eventually. Terrible idea. Never works. And also, you're not doing yourself or them any favor. You're not respecting either one of you. That's a whole nother rant. So, like, I like the movie goes in that direction. I like the movie approaches the topic very maturely and with nuance and just acknowledging how complicated those kind of relationships can be. So from that angle, I did like this movie. I did really like it. I don't think it's going to be in my top 10 this year just because, like, while it's good, it's not something I would ever really want to watch again. So, yeah, take that for what it's worth. I know a lot of people like this movie a lot more than I did, and I think they definitely have very valid reasons for liking it. I do acknowledge it's very good. I also acknowledge I probably did not see this in the right headspace. So, make it that way will, and we're going to go into the next one. Bye.